I'm Jacinta James from Beyond Beauty International, and today I'm going to be going through a thorough cosmetic tattoo consultation for eyebrows. So there's a lot of information to go through, and we usually spend up to 30 minutes with a client going through all their options, shapes, colours and everything there is to know about the healing process before we ever begin a cosmetic tattoo procedure. So regarding eyebrows being our most popular treatment, we're going to go through that today. With the eyebrows, there's actually 5 different options to choose from. So a lot of people come in with the most common, popular feather touch brows. That's exactly what I want. But in face-to-face consultation, I will thoroughly go through all of these options so you are clear and understand them all, and we'll discuss what's best for you. Everybody is different. I usually do say to people once they come in the room, don't worry about what I have. I do have the older technique. It's a fuller looking brow, and we call it the powder brow. Now, there's still a lot of demand for the powder brow, but when we are starting out, I usually encourage the most natural looks so that you can ease into it. With cosmetic tattooing, we can always add more. However, we can't so easily take away. So with the brow options, the most commonly known, the feather touch brow, we actually have a temporary option, and this is the most natural and finest we can do. Basically, the procedure is I will be doing a finer technique and a lighter colour for your first treatment. We call it a temporary brow because that will actually fall out. So after 7 to 10 days of healing, that temporary brow will drop out and you'll be left with probably 10% of colour. Okay, in that 10% of colour will actually fade off within 3 months. So we call it a temporary brow because you get to trial it. So for those 7 to 10 days, it gives you a really good indication of whether you'll like it. You can ask your friends, your partner, and get a little bit of feedback and know whether you're comfortable to have it done a little bit longer lasting and a more permanent effect. When I say permanent, it's never forever, not like a body tattoo. So cosmetic tattooing does fade over time. With that temporary brow, as I say, pretty much it's all gone after 7 to 10 days. Now, if you wish to proceed and continue with the temporary brow, you will need to come back and have another treatment, and that is done 3 to 4 weeks later. And we then choose a darker colour and a heavier technique just to get it so it does hold better. Okay, from there you will heal and you'll lose up to 50% of your colour. Okay, after that, if you're still not satisfied and you want a little bit more colour, a little bit more oomph or a little bit more thickness, any alterations at all, you come back, your retouch is $100 again, and then we do the final touch-up. So with the temporary brow, it can be a 3-step process. Your first temporary brow appointment, which will fall out. If you love it, come back, we make it a little darker and heavier, and from there you do lose the 50%. So you may be needing a 3rd retouch. Now, both of those second retouch appointments are only charged at $100. So your initial temporary brow appointment is $495, and then each retouch after that is $100. Okay, the second option is the feather touch brow with microblading. This is a hand tool. It is our very finest feather technique. Of course, just like I explained with the temporary brow, we're just basically jumping to stage 2 of the temporary brow. So we're using this awesome little pen style tool to implant really fine feathered strokes into your brows. Now, we do always encourage a slightly darker colour because we advise you that 50% of that colour will fall out. So in a lot of before and after photos that you may see online, they are a little bit dark, and a lot of people say, do you have blondes? And we do, absolutely. So we can start as light as you like, and I'm just here to guide you, okay? So we will make a safe decision together. So with the feather touch brow in the fine technique, we do a treatment and you will fade by 50%, and after that you can decide if you want to retouch. Now, 90% of people will avail that retouch, okay? The reason is when 50% of your colour falls out, you can have needing a little bit of extra colour. We can also have little light areas depending on when your scab fell out. And I will go through that aftercare and how well to take care of your scab. It is crucially important to your results, and if you do have an accident or you feel an itch and you accidentally scratch a small area, it can leave you with a small lighter patch or gap in the brow. So usually we do prepare everybody for needing a retouch for that reason. Also, if you're nervous about decisions, we say, great, we'll go a lighter colour, we'll go a little bit slimmer. In your retouch appointment, we can change anything you want. That $100 retouch includes a full treatment again. We can go darker in colour, we can go thicker, we can even change the technique. So you can choose one of these other options that I'm about to continue on and tell you a little bit more about. Once you decide if a feather touch look is too subtle and too natural looking for you and you want something a little bit more intense, we can upgrade you to a heavier look, for instance, like mine, the powder brow. Okay, so again, we can add more, but we can't so easily take away. So moving on, the next one is a medium feather touch brow, and it's a medium fullness. We are using a machine to create this feather touch brow, and the machine does create a slightly fuller or fatter looking hair stroke. So it still looks, it's somewhere in between your powder brow and your fine feather touch microblade brow. So we are still doing really gorgeous feather touch strokes, but just a fuller effect. So if you like that more medium range look, that's perfect. Again, we do recommend a retouch after 3 or 4 weeks from that first appointment, just to go over that colour and make sure everything's perfect. Then we have my technique, which is the powder brow, and it's a lovely fuller technique. Now, I usually recommend to everybody it's not ideal in your first treatment. If you've never had cosmetic tattooing before, a powder brow can be quite intense and intimidating. During that healing process of 7 to 10 days, this technique will be quite prominent. The thickness will be bolder than it is when it heals. So the width of the brow tightens down and gets a little bit slimmer. And this also happens in our feather touch brows too, but more so when we are doing a fuller technique, it's going to be more obvious. You will lose the 50% of colour, just like in the other techniques as well, and that slimness will tighten down a little bit as well. Again, with the powder brow, you do need a retouch. Again, recommended 3 to 4 weeks later. We can go over the same treatment area again, or you can alter the shape, and you can also go darker. Now, as I say, we can't go backwards, so from the powder brow, there's no turning back. You can't go back to that soft, fine feather touch look. Unless, however, you decide a year down the track when your powder brow fades and you come back and have a refresh of colour, we can then do the fine feathering over the top, which actually looks gorgeous and effective. It is very similar to what I'm about to explain for the next option of brows. We call it a 3D combo brow, and what we're doing is a very lighter colour powder brow, so not as prominent as mine. It would be, say, like a dark blonde or a light brown, and we do this fuller powder brow look. Then you pop back and I will help guide you whether you need a retouch on that powder brow. All depends on how well you heal. So if you do need a retouch, your second appointment, again, the $100 retouch, we do a second powder brow treatment. And then from there, after you've healed, you come back again and we microblade and fine feather over the top. So you've basically got your shadow background in a lighter colour, and then the finer feathering over the top. We choose a darker colour, like a dark brown. And that's why we call it like a 3D brow, because it gives that 3D effect. And it's fantastic for women with no hair, alopecia patients, cancer patients, and things like that. So the options are endless, and a lot of people get a little overwhelmed with all these eyebrow options. We will create a gorgeous eyebrow menu for you to read through these options on our website, and also having a one-on-one consultation with me is going to help a lot, and I'll help guide you what's best for you. You don't have to know what you want when you come in for an appointment. That's what I'm here for, and I'll go through these options. We'll look at photos and help guide you. So with the colours, we do have a wide range to choose from. As I said, 50% of the colour is your average colour drop during the healing process of 7 to 10 days. So as I say, we guide you to go a little bit darker, but if you are nervous on the day, by all means, I will help you. We can go a lighter colour, and as I say, I'll just warn you that a lot of it will fall out, but you always have the option to go darker in your retouch, so it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so it lasts, how long does the cosmetic tattooing last with eyebrows? It's different for everybody. Okay, skin types, age, sun exposure, skincare products, and everything like that. The techniques do play a huge part. So the softer looking tattoo that we do, like for instance our temperate brow or our fine feather touch brow, is going to be the fastest to fade because it is the most subtle, lightest, most natural looking. You can expect to get about 12 to 18 months. Again, every individual is different. And for that reason, we do charge a retouch price scale based on the time since you've seen me last. Once you're an existing customer of Beyond Beauty International and myself, you will not pay full price price again. We will always discount that based on how long it's been since your last treatment. The medium range feather touch brows, a little bit longer than the feather touch brows, maybe more like the 18 months to 2 years sometimes, again depending on the person and the colour chosen for the tattoo. So if you choose a darkest brown, of course that's going to last a lot longer than a dark blonde, for example. The powder brow, approximately 2 years. I do refresh my own eyebrows every 2 years. Now you will still have colour there, but it will be lightening and fading out. So personal choice. I always refer to people, it's like going to the hairdresser. When you feel that your hair colour is washed out or dull, you go back to your hairdresser and you have it refreshed. So the exact same thing with your cosmetics. How do you decide in personal choice when you want to refresh that colour? Then the combo brow is about the same time. The HD 3D combo brow will last approximately as long as your powder brow. So you've got that base powder in a lighter colour and then you're microblading in the darker colour, the fine streaks over the top. So it's approximately 18 months to 2 years as well. And the cost for feather touch brows and powder brows, all my eyebrow range, is $495. This is 2016 pricing, and all your retouches are $100. You are welcome to have as many retouches as you need until you're satisfied with the results. So a retouch is required to come back and visit me again within 2 months to avail that retouch for $100. So I hope that our eyebrow descriptions have been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you soon in a consultation.